Hello, everyone. I'm here today with an internationally known actor. He has over 140 credits on the International Movie Database. He's worked with directors such as Tim Burton, Spike Jonze, Guillermo del Toro, Larry Fessenden, and M. Night Shyamalan. He's worked with actors such as John Hurt, Danny DeVito, Noah Wyle, Brendan Fraser, Tom Hiddleston, and Ron Perlman. In 2010, he won Best Actor at the 3rd Strasbourg International Film Festival for his role as Jerry in My Name is Jerry. And he has a new film coming out on October 16th called Crimson Peak. Doug Jones.
Hello.
Welcome
Thank you for that. That's the best introduction ever.
Thanks, man.
You did some research.
I did some research and it was a lot of fun doing every minute of it.
Oh,
So yeah, it was a great time.
Thank you.
So you're clearly a busy man. Thank you so much for being with us. I know you have a crazy schedule.
It is my pleasure. Yeah, no, and you mentioned Crimson Peak. That's my 5th film with Guillermo del Toro.
That's fantastic.
The decorated director. So yeah, he's been a blessing in my life. He comes back around for me again and again and again.
Well, I read that he has a quote where he said, "You will be in every one of his movies."
Except Pacific Rim, apparently. So,
yeah, every time I think of you in Pacific Rim, I think, could he have been one of the giant? No.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, Guillermo del Toro thinks of me as a monster. He told me I screwed myself once when I asked about human roles. He goes, "No, you're too good at monsters. I can't." So I've ruined my own career. At being good. He thinks I'm good at one thing, so that's how he thinks of me. So there were a couple of like scientist roles in the Pacific Rim that would have been great. To delve into, but I think everybody that he got in the cast was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No chagrin here. It's all good.
Good.
Yeah.
So then, speaking of Crimson Peak, then, is that your hand on Mia Wasikowska or Wasikowska?
Mia Wasikowska.
Wasikowska.
It's a tough one. It's a toughie. Yeah.
Is that you in the trailer?
It is. Well, now there are 2 of us who play all the lady ghosts in the movie.
Okay.
And all the ghosts are ladies. I'm not going to tell you why.
Okay.
It's a plot point.
All right.
But yes, that would be. I play 2 lady ghosts. One is the mother ghost, and that would be the dark hand that comes around the shoulder of young Mia Wasikowska, played by a younger actress.
Okay.
In the movie, and then also the hands that come through a door. That's what you've seen in the trailer so far.
Yep.
Those are hinting at the mother ghost character. And that would be her mother, who has passed on and now comes back with a heat of warning. And then later, when she's grown up, and she's now at the mansion with Tom Hiddleston being her love interest in the story, things are going on in this haunted house. It's a classic Victorian era haunted house tale, as only Del Toro could tell. Yeah. And so the lady ghosts start coming out of everywhere in the mansion to communicate with Mia Wasikowska, and so. I'm the bathtub ghost in that segment of the film. You might have seen a hint of that in the trailer as well. There's another ghost crawling down a hallway like this, or behind a doorway. It's like kind of going, or playing a piano. Those are Javier Botet. Okay. Javier Botet was the mama ghost in the movie Mama.
Oh.
Yes. He's actually he's 2 inches taller than me and skinnier than I am. So hard to imagine this. But yeah, no, his upper arm is the size of my forearm.
Is that right?
He's a skinny fella. But he's got his own brand of beauty, and he uses it brilliantly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Being on a Guillermo del Toro set, one like that, which I love that genre. I love the haunted house, like the Victorian, that sort of thing. It's fantastic. Is there ever, are you ever like alone on set and you're like, this is a little creepy? I know it's a set, but this is a little convincing.
Well, his sets, Guillermo del Toro, this is another thing that makes him such a brilliant filmmaker, is that all of his art direction, everything that you see around you in his films, every prop, every set piece, every piece of art, every piece of furniture, the way things are placed and done and art directed, all have a purpose. And if he takes you on a tour through his sets, he'll tell you why and what significance this or that has.
That's really cool.
So there's no space left unused,
I don't see Guillermo del Toro ever doing like a rush job on a project or like being one of those directors you just call in to crank out this.
No, he's not a cranker outer. Yeah. And that's another reason why he's been talking about doing a Frankenstein.
I was going to bring it up because I want to talk to you.
Can we talk about it now?
That,
okay.
You can't. How much bigger of an icon can you get
And
Frankenstein. And he's mentioned you playing Frankenstein.
He has indeed. This is why I know about this one, because I've asked him.
Oh my goodness, how cool would that be?
He in 2008 when Hellboy 2 was being released, right, at the red carpet premiere of Hellboy 2. Walking down the press line, a journalist at the very end with just a recording device. Doug, I just talked to Guillermo del Toro and he told me that he's going to make his own Frankenstein movie. I said and that was the first I'd heard of this, right? So I'm like, oh, how perfect! Oh, like everyone else, he's the one who could redo this. Yeah. He's the one who could make it like it's with such reverence to the book. I know he would do that. Well, he's often said that the book and the original movie with Boris Karloff are what inspired him to want to be the filmmaker that he is today.
That's cool.
To make the monsters that he's made. It was the Frankenstein story that really kicked him off. So his lifelong dream has been to make his own Frankenstein movie. Well, okay, so I knowing this and then hearing this journalist say this was like, oh, well, it's about time. This is perfect. So he said, well, no, that's not the best part. I just asked him, who would play Frankenstein's monster? And he said, Doug Jones. So, of course, I was like, he said, what? So I, go weak in the knees, I get pale in the face, I start drooling on myself, like, this is the best news ever. And then I went inside to watch Hellboy 2 for the first time. I'm having a good night.
I was just going to say, is this by chance on YouTube or anything? Because I'd love to see your reaction.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't a video interview. It was it was an audio thing. Oh.
Yeah, your world premiere, and then you also get
and I hear about this on the same day. So Guillermo del Toro confirmed it during our press junket the next day. I asked him, like, what is this? Yeah, no, it confirmed true. So anyway, that was 7 years ago. So it's been in development all this time, and I think it's because, like you said, he doesn't want to go into anything and just crank something out. This project especially, because it's been a lifelong dream. It's his childhood dream of his, and he feels, I don't know what he feels. I don't want to speak for him, but can you imagine every time you bring it up and people go, oh, you making that is going to be amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's a lot to live up to right there, right? I would feel a certain amount of pressure that I just put on myself. And so so he might be going through that thing where how do you start writing that script? How do you start, that's got to, be the most amazing film ever made, right?
Yeah, I mean, I read a quote, I guess I won't repeat it right here, about why he says he's a chicken. That's why he hasn't done it. But he had said that, he would want to take like 3 years just to write it. Like just to, and I read that book for the first time a couple years ago, and it is so good. Like, and you feel so bad for the monster. It makes perfect sense that Guillermo del Toro, like if I were Frankenstein's monster and I was like needing someone to make my movie, I would totally go to the guy that made such sympathetic films toward monster.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly,
like that's
he's old school monster maker. Yeah,
so cool.
He's Guillermo del Toro is the return to the golden era of monster movies. Like when a monster had a sympathy and had romance even and could be a lead role. He's the guy to bring it back.
Because he would also want to do Bride of Frankenstein. He said too.
Yes.
That's what I read.
Right.
All right, so I got to ask you, knowing that you are this man's like go-to guy, right? All right, listen. All right, I'll say. You don't have to say. You don't have to say. What does it feel like to know that you are on that level with Ron Chaney and all the legends? You, Doug Jones, when you look in the mirror, you are the modern day you're your own man. I'm not going to say you're the new whatever.
No, I'm not cringing because when I hear my name equated with Lon Chaney and Boris Karloff, I just feel so incredibly humbled because those are legendary icons, in the film business. So I don't want to sully their names by adding mine to the list. Like, and there's also me. And oh God! But thank you. I will let you say that.
Okay.
And I appreciate it more than you know.
I'm not the only one. Yeah.
And thank you for that. Thank you for being one of those that would couple my name with theirs. That's
absolutely.
Very, very
I'm a huge fan of Golden Age. Errol Flynn's one of my favorite actors. I love his films and stuff. And actually, that's one thing I was going to ask you about because he ended up kind of loathing the parts that made him a star, which were the adventure, pirate thing. He continued to do them because he needed the money, more or less. I don't sense that you would ever start to resent the fact that you seem like you take it with such gratitude, which I think is so vital to your survival as a human too. But like, I wouldn't imagine that you would build any sort of like resentment or anything toward the fact that you have this stellar legendary career, but it happens to be with X or Y. Everybody's got something that they're like. I'm sorry, I'm getting really wordy. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get this out. But do you get what I'm saying? Like,
I do.
Yeah, you wouldn't be like, oh, I'm just this, like this creature in these movies. When
Right.
that's like Errol Flynn saying, oh, I'm just this whatever, and he's so good at what he does, and he was amazing,
Well,
and
sure.
so are you, and it's just like.
Right. Well, many an actor will tell you that you will have an attitude of like, I don't want to get pigeonholed. You'll hear that phrase,
I remember.
pigeonholed.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for.
And to me, it's a blessing to have a hole to be pigeoned in.
Yeah.
I would say, because that means somebody wants to pay you for something. Whatever, you have something special that they want to hire you for. That's great. I say ride the pigeonhole as far as it will take me, and with that though, after establishing yourself and establishing a name in that thing, in that pigeonhole, then other directors will take chances on you, and that's the phase of career I'm in now. I have had many a director and many a producer contact me to break outside the genre that I'm known for, the mold that I'm known for, the type of characters that I'm known for. I've been using my own face a lot more in films now. I just did a Hallmark Channel movie where I played a butler for Raquel Welch, right?
Really?
So yes, it
missed
hasn't
that.
aired yet. It'll
Okay.
be airing in January on the Hallmark Channel. So for a producer writer to contact me about that role was like, oh, well that's really sweet and lovely. But he wouldn't have known about me had it not been for the career that was built in that pigeonhole. So no, I say pigeonholes are a blessing, absolutely. And does that mean I never want to wear makeups on my face again? Absolutely not. I mean, absolutely not that I don't want to. But two negatives. I'm getting very confusing. But I will wear makeups as long as Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney do. So they went into their retirement years wearing crazy makeups. If it's the right role, the right story to be told, the right film, the right director, the right cast members to work with, those are all. I can be more picky now. Bless my, thank God for that blessing that I'm not desperate for work. So I used to say yes to every little bug creature that came along. But now I actually can, take into account, is this a story that I want to help tell? Is it a character that I really want to invite into my heart, let him play himself through me? All those things that actor schmackers have to want to think about. And so whether a role has tons of makeup involved, or it's just this guy taking on a new character, they're the same to me now. A good role in a good project is a good role in a good project, no matter if it has makeup or not.
Speaking of which, I think you mentioned Golden Age. I feel when I watch you that there is like a Golden Age sensibility about you, and I think that was shown in adaptation, in that role. Really? I'm telling you,
really? I was barely in that.
The throwback to the Explorer, to me, kind of like this African Queen type, you know what I mean? And I thought, wow, that would be really cool to see him in like a film like that. You know what I mean? Like, so I thought that was really cool, personally. And it was really, it's quick. But
you mentioned Spike Lee in the lovely introduction. That was my Spike Lee moment. Was being directed by him in that flashback scene in adaptation. I played Augustus Marjorie, an early explorer who he was an orchid hunter, and he had found this rare orchid in some rainforest somewhere in the world, and was beaten to death and had his orchid stolen from him. And so that meant stuntmen beating me in a forest area with rain being pelted into the air. I was shivering and cold, with a beard glued onto me and like long hair in my face, and I had dysentery. And so Augustus Marjorie was a real person who had really done this and went through some hell and back to acquire this rare orchid, and was indeed, it was stolen from him.
There's a movie in that right there.
I think there's an Augustus Marjorie story. So so that was a fun little. If you're going to do a flashback, that was the one. Being directed by Spike Jonze was fantastic.
That is cool.
Yes.
That is so cool.
And okay. So but you mentioned Golden Era. Okay, can I bring up another thing?
Please.
Yeah. And thank you for that's very sweet. I'll take that as a huge compliment if you say that I have a golden age sort of
sensibility. There's
about
something about
Well, because people have often asked me, is there a role that you haven't played yet that you would like to? what's that one? Is there a creature out there that you haven't been yet that you would like to play? And my answer has been, for many years, I would love to play a classic vampire. Not a sparkly pretty one, that's been done and I'm too old and gross for that now. But if I could play a vampire, of the Dracula age or the Nosferatu era. And Nosferatu actually was more appealing to me because of his hideous look. He's not romantic, he's not seductive, he's hideous. And so of course I can relate to that because I'm hideous. But I think a blood-sucking vampire would be this force of nature that comes at you like, what is that?
Yeah.
So and loving the original 1922 silent film, I just always thought, wouldn't it be fun to revive that story and play Count Orlok, the Nosferatu character, and maybe even film it in black and white and do like a revival
nice.
of that
Shadows.
Look. Right.
All that.
So yes. So anyway, recently, about maybe like a year and a half ago, I got a phone call out of the blue from director David Lee Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
Now, David Lee Fisher and I had worked together on a movie called The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which was another silent film that he made into a talkie with sound, but he filmed it in a silent film style. The look of it all was the same look that the silent film had from 1919. So we were all. He did a technological wonder. He created matte shots off the original film. So he pulled all the actors out of the original film, put us on green screen, filmed us that way, and then plopped us into the original footage. So we had a bit of the old, a bit of the new. So he called that, instead of a remake, he called it a remix.
That's cool.
Like remixing music, right? So he calls me out of the blue a year and a half ago and says, hey, I got this crazy idea. If you say no, I'll just drop the whole idea. But it really depends on you. I'm like, what could this be, right? He said, would you want to play Nosferatu if we did a remake? I'm like, have you been reading my mail? Have you been in my dreams? Where have you? How do you? So yeah, I screamed at him on the phone, like, how did you know? Oh my gosh, yes! So he wants to make Nosferatu in the same way that we made The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, by taking the original film and using it, taking the original actors out, filming us on green screen, popping us in. Technology's gotten even better since we did Caligari in 2005. So now we're 10 years later, the technology's even better. You can move the camera into the room and get a 3D image off that original set now, which is like, I can't even, fathom. So we're going to be filming that in December.
You are? Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. He not only did a Kickstarter campaign, but also a wealthy friend of ours, bless his heart, came forward and said, I want to work with you, Doug Jones. I'm very sweet of him. He'd mentioned that before, and now when he saw the Kickstarter campaign, he was like, how did you not tell me about this? Well, I'm not someone who can say like, hey, we have a Kickstarter, do you want to donate to it? I can't do that. So he came forward himself and said, I just saw your thing, talk to me, I want to, So his company and his partners are all coming together to make this film happen.
That's fantastic.
I can't wait.
My gosh.
I'm going to play my dream role of Nosferatu.
Oh, I'm very happy for you. I'm
Thank
glad.
you.
I went to the Egyptian and saw Nosferatu. They played it there with the piano accompaniment.
With the live music.
Cool. Because that's how I'd always said. I'd always stand by it since high school. I would say, vampires are nasty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and I always had this kind of fascination with vampire hunters too. And all. It's just a great genre. So I'm very happy for you. And when would that be expected, perhaps?
Right. Well, give it a good year after we film, because he's going to be doing a lot of that digital post-production work, right?
Yeah.
That's going to take him. That's going to take a minute. And it being done on the independent budget that he's got, you won't have a team of visual effects artists. It will be David Lee Fisher on his own, like he did Caligari, which took about a year. Same
plot and everything, or?
Oh, it's going to be the Nosferatu movie.
It is. Okay.
It's going to stay very true. It has dialogue now.
Oh, sweet.
And much like we did in the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, the dialogue is very true to that silent story that you saw. Now, when you're watching a silent film, you'll see a lot of this. And then they'll put up a dialogue card that says, yes, mother. And you're like, they said a lot more than that, right? So David has done I read the script just recently, the final draft, and oh my gosh, it is so.
Oh, that's great.
It fleshes out that story, but it's very true to it, you know. So it's beautifully written. So as Caligari was, I thought too.
That's fantastic.
So yeah.
Yeah. Very happy to hear.
Can't wait.
Very happy to hear that. Frankenstein.
There it is. There it is.
How much bigger can it get? Bigger than Darth Vader. That's what I wrote.
Okay.
So, and right after this, dream role.
Yeah.
Because
been there, done that.
Because I'd also read somewhere that you. I don't know if you were joking, but you said Danny Kaye.
Oh, I was not joking about that.
All right.
I've been equated. You know. Now that I'm in the public eye more, I tend to get equated with people a lot.
Yeah.
You know, as you know, you'll have somebody say, "You remind me so much of," you know. I used to get Ray Bolger, who played the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz, right? That's a huge compliment to me because that was my childhood. Like, oh. And I also, I've gotten Jerry Lewis. I've gotten Don Knotts, who played Barney Fife on Mayberry, right? But you know, when you're skinny and goofy, they just equate you with all of. I've gotten Jim Carrey a bit here and there, but Danny Kaye. Danny Kaye is the one that I go, oh, you really think if I remind you of Danny Kaye, because he was another one as a kid watching his movies, so bright and chipper and when he commanded the stage when he was on it, and commanded the lens when he was on film, and such a strong
legend.
presence and a legend and I almost felt good watching him.
Yeah.
You know, he was a feel-good actor to me. So if they ever made a life story of Danny Kaye, of course I'm 55 now. I don't know how much longer I can pull this off, but I would love to at some time in some way play a little bit of Danny Kaye maybe.
That's fantastic.
It'll be fun.
Oh, that's super cool. I wanted to when you mentioned that you speak a lot of public speaking. Every time I've heard you and every time I've talked to people afterward, they're affected. You know what I mean? Like you I'm trying, because I mean all this. I don't want this to just sound like cliche. You know what I mean? But the words that are coming up are unfortunately used a lot, I think, as throwaway words. But just it really touches people and it really helps them. And I was doing some research and I found this quote as a description. It said, Doug and his wife Lori also mentor young people who wish to work in the medium of film and are beginning their careers in the business. First of all, that's beautiful. And how involved then do you take that?
Right. Well, we don't have a program.
Right.
There's an application process for it at all, and nothing official at all. It's really more. Mrs. Lori and I have never had kids of our own. We waited a while to start trying to have kids into our late 30s, and then when we did, we tried for 3 years, wasn't happening. A doctor finally told us it's not going to happen for you two. Oh, huh. And then we got tired thinking about adoption. How long is that going to take? And So then it was one of those things where God fulfilled our purpose by bringing a lot of 20-somethings into our life. Because of my public speaking, I'm often at a place like this on a college campus, or I work on a lot of the, especially the indie films that I do. I meet a lot of a younger crew that are just starting out and eager to be there, and and there's a puppy-like quality to those kids that we call them our puppies. That we can't call them our kids. We didn't give birth to them, but they're our puppies for sure. And and like any relationship, could be for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. The puppies that come in and out of our lives are there for a reason, a season, or a lifetime as well. The lifetimers have become more like actual kids to us, and it's not specifically for showbiz kids. So that I'm not sure where that was written up, but it's not specifically. Just basically young people who might need a mom and dad figure. They do. I do tend to meet a lot of kids with a showbiz aspiration. Yes. And Los Angeles being a place where it's a very transient town, where young people come from all over the world to land there and try to find themselves and make a name for themselves and build a career there. And it can be a very thankless, horrific time and place for many young people when they arrive there and Hollywood's not there to greet them like they had imagined. So then it's like, okay, the arts of any kind are, success in the arts is not in anyone's favor, really. You have to do it because you love it, not because you want to make money or be famous, really.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
You had a great quote that I heard on a podcast, and I can't remember it verbatim, but it was essentially be as the best, like as good as you can be, and then do it in front of somebody that can get you work.
I way oversimplified. When I get asked, like, hey, can you help me get my foot in the door? What's your advice to a young actor? Well, here's what I break it down to two simple things. Be the best at whatever that is, and find a way to do that thing in front of someone who can hire you or finance you. Boom. That's oversimplification, of course, and there's many elements that go into both those things. But being the best at what you do, for some that require, some are very good class takers. They get their college degree in theater or media arts or whatever it is, and others are, maybe might skip the university process and just go for specific classes and coaching. Others might just go straight into making films with their friends, and they're on camera a lot, and they work through their kinks that way. Whatever gets you to be the best that you can be. And because acting is such a psychologically based art form, it's going to be different for all of us, because we all have a different psychological makeup and a different things that motivate us and scare us and all those things. So when an actor tells you, well, you should be, and here's what you should do to get, I can't say you should do or shouldn't do anything, because it's going to be different for you than it was for me. It's going to be different for, So, yes. So whatever gets you to be the best at whatever as an actor, or a singer, or a dancer, or a director, or a writer, or a producer, whatever, be the best, and then find a way to do it in front of someone who can finance you or hire you. Means do it as the meet and greets, get your film into a film festival, mingle, meet people, let them see your work. Do a showcase, with an industry showcase where casting directors and agents and managers are invited to come and see you. And then the banter and the social time afterwards is very important. It seems like everyone you meet knows someone who knows someone, and do the favors as well. At the beginning of my acting career, I did a lot of freebies, a lot of student films, a lot of shorts, and now there's the web series thing that didn't exist when I started. That whole new medium with the internet, which brings many more portals to act in, much more product out there now. So when you're approached by a low budget, no budget kind of project that wants a favor from you, if you have the time and you have the desire and the passion to do your art, do it for that freebie. And but again, if it's the right, I've met many a young director that way that has then gone on to be successful, because you have that coffee date with them at the beginning of the process to see whose hands am I going to be in. Can I trust this process with you as the director of this thing? And when you get that sense from that coffee date that I'm in good hands, then that person will often go on to be in a place then where they do one day get a production and get a budget, and they can come back and hire you. And I've done many favors over my 30-year career that have come back to bless me. Nice. Absolutely.
You give the same advice to someone, let's say they discover late in their life that they want to be an actor, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever.
Never too late. One of my favorite examples ever was an old woman named Clara Peller. Do you remember? You're probably too young, but there was a Wendy's campaign. Where's the beef?
Yes,
right?
Classic.
Classic Wendy's campaign. Where's the beef? And it was a little old lady that was doing it. She stumbled into that commercial audition by accident. She was there, as the story goes, Clara Peller was a beautician who was retired, long retired. She was like in her 80s, or maybe pushing 90 even. And she accompanied an actress friend of hers to an audition before they went to lunch one day or something, right? Oh, I guess I'll come with you. Sitting in the lobby, right? And the casting director comes out to take in the next person, looks at Clara and says, would you like to come audition for this too? Oh, I'm just here with my friend. No, yeah, please, come in and audition for this. Nice. She got the job. Of course, her friend probably hated her after that.
Right, yeah.
But so that's like at 80-something, Clara Peller becomes a phenomenon on TV, right? So it's just never too late. There's if you turn on your TV or you go to the movie theater, there are characters of all shapes and colors and ages, all of it. So if you see it being done, then that's proof that it can be done, right?
Very nice.
Yeah,
Very
at
nice.
any age.
Very nice. All right, so I want to talk about a little bit about motivations for choosing roles. I know you mentioned God earlier, and I'm wondering, does your faith play a role? Is it? I'm sure it's a balance sometimes. You know what I mean, like you've said. But is there any specific motivator? I saw recently Butterfly Circus, beautiful film. If you were to tell me I chose that because to glorify God or something, I would believe it because it's, you know what I mean? Like the message in the movie, everything is just fantastic. So, what is kind of like what some of the motivators that?
Well, that's a good one right there. I think I feel that any talents that I've been given, I don't feel I really don't want to ever sound boastful or anything, and I really am. I rely on other people telling me I'm good at something because I just feel like I don't really. I watch myself and I'm like, I don't know what they're saying, but any chance you get to use the gifts you've been given is a chance to glorify God, really. And if you're given a story that has an inspirational message of some sort, great, even a better place to glorify God in the story you're telling and the talents you're using. So in a case like the short film, The Butterfly Circus, perfect example. And it was not overtly a Christian message as much as the imagery. You could, if you wanted to pull a Christian message out of it, you absolutely can, Yeah. So yeah, and Josh Weigel, the film's director, and his wife Rebecca Weigel, they co-wrote and she produced. He directed. I'd seen another short film of theirs at a film festival that was amazing called Stained. And when that was done, I met them afterwards and I was like, I have to work with you. Oh my gosh, it was fabulous. So he called me up about 8 months later and said, did you mean what you said? Because I got the Butterfly Circus coming. And so that's how I got involved with that. But when I read the script, he sent me the script over and I called him immediately going, if you wanted me to be in tears, you have accomplished your goal. This is beautiful. Yeah, just from reading the script. So, and again, he's a director that I trusted because I'd seen his previous work, and just knowing that, in a story like that, you've got it's a circus setting, and the showman who runs the circus is sort of like the God figure, and he's such a caregiver to those within his circus, and when he meets Nick Vujicic, who plays Will in the story, that's the man without any arms out and no legs. He meets him at a sideshow freak show, and kind of like the moment he meets him and sees him for the first time, he's just marveling at the beauty of this armless, legless man, and he leans into him and he says, "You are magnificent," right? That was like the first tear-jerky moment of that 20-minute film that sold me on it, because I do feel that God does look at us and thinks we are magnificent. He made us, so he gets to say that, right? Oftentimes a movie may not have an overt Christian message to it, but what can be pulled out of it in a discussion like this afterwards, that's why I might do a movie. I even did a film called Legion, which is theologically it's heresy, but one of the reasons I said yes to doing, and I did a cameo. I did a 90-second cameo in the
Which
movie.
was all over the place.
It was all over the place.
All over.
Yeah, when they showed the TV commercials.
The most famous part of the movie is you.
Well, the film trailer was all me, so. Okay, it was very sweet, but knowing that the director came looking for me to have a Doug Jones cameo in the film, I wanted to read the entire script to find out what's the story, what's the whole story we're telling here, before I lend my name to the promotion of, right? So when I read the whole story, I thought, oh gosh, God is angry and he's destroying Earth, and like, oh, do I want to help tell a story where God's the bad guy? So I needed that coffee date with the director. To Scott Stewart, to have those answers and to ask those questions. Well, when I sat down with him, I posed that issue to him and being my discomfort. And he said, well, Doug, I'm not here this movie is absolutely not to offend Christians. In fact, if anything, think of this as a modern day scenario but without the New Testament in place. Let's pretend that we're still living in Old Testament times. And he said the Old Testament is full of a lot of tragic plagues and violence, right? He said, the flood that Noah and his family survived was, think of those who were outside the ark. Brutal, horrific deaths, right? So in Legion, there's a legion of angels coming from earth and inhabiting people one at a time and making them self-destruct. So he said, basically, this is a retelling of the flood, where God was indeed angry with earth and people and what they'd done, and there was one family that was worth sparing in Old Testament times. Again, so he posed the question: if we were living under the Old Testament theology today, in modern day, look around you, and are we deserving of another flood? Sold me right there.
Wow.
Sold me. That's our talking point, right?
Wow.
So I said, I'm in. I'll do it. Yes. And so with my 90-second cameo, Scott Stewart was very good to keep me in the I did all the press junkets. I did the Comic-Con presentation with them, everything, and red carpet premiere of the movie itself with the whole press line, talking to everyone from CNN to Entertainment Tonight to Access Hollywood to every .com out there, and able to say, the good news is there is a New Testament. This is a fun Saturday night movie, but on Sunday morning, come to church with me. And the Bible on my shelf at home has more in it.
That's great.
We do have a Savior. We do have redemption. We don't have to pay this kind of price anymore. Jesus did that for us, and so that's the good news, and that's the discussion starter. And every journalist that interviewed us about Legion wanted to know. So this is a controversial topic about God being angry. What's your take on it? They were asking everybody that. So I knew that by saying yes to this film, I could be a Christian voice in that discussion.
I really applaud you for that. Is it intimidating to bring up Jesus sometimes?
Can be, depending on who you're because oftentimes in the media out there, it's not the most common or popular thing to be a Christian in the entertainment world. And oftentimes people who are drawn to entertainment are drawn there because of a rebellious past with bad church experiences, bad family experiences, their image of God is something that's been tainted by some bad experience somewhere. So I would like to be a Christian who to remind them that we're not about the hate and the judgment that we're accused of so much. A true Christian is a lover and a hugger and a reflection of that God who looks at you and says, "You're magnificent." So I want to be a Christian that speaks that voice to people around me. So I can speak up about it.
Perhaps if I had more courage, I would have broached that topic earlier. I was just hesitant. You know what I mean? Because I don't.
It's all good.
But because you're also involved in a group, correct?
A couple of them, yes. Okay. One is called Media Fellowship International, and the other one is called the Greenhouse.
Nice.
I'm on the board of directors for both of them because I had either spoken at or been a member of, and then I kind of stuck with them, and they asked me to be on their board of directors now. So yes, very happy about that. Both the Greenhouse and Media Fellowship are organizations. Those are two of many organizations out there that are sort of Christian support groups and support organizations for Christians who happen to be in the media or in the arts. So if you are Hollywood bound or whatever, there's a sense of you can find community.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So we are just about out of time, unfortunately. I feel like I could talk to you for a couple hours.
As I could you.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, this is I've had the pleasure. It's really been a pleasure. It's the second time I've gotten to talk to you. I know I speak for a lot of people when I say it's just a blessing to hear you speak, and it's. I'm sure stuff will trickle out later. I'll be like, hey, just so you know, this is so much fun that we did this, and it's really been a blessing. And I just want the world to know too that you are legitimate with Karloff and Cheney, and this is just a real honor to be here. So thank you so much for your time.
And thank you for having me. Thank you.
Man, I hope to see you again.
Yeah, big love.
All right, you too.